No audio. Can you hear me now? Okay, great. Great. Hope everyone enjoyed the presentation. Hope it answered a few questions, especially for our new members. Thank you so much. I love visual. I love colorful things. So I thought it would be a good idea to just do like a little collage type of theme. We definitely need to get back in bed. So, got a question a little while ago asking if he was the only crab that I had down for 6 months. No, it was not. I had my original wild caught crabs were down for, I would say, 10 months. That was a scary situation because I didn't know if he had passed or not. It was just a waiting game for us. He was kind of big, so I guess the bigger he was, the longer it took him to shed that exo. Thank you. I tried to do a lot of research, um, read a lot, make sure that I got all my facts correct. Well, it all depends on how, for example, that particular crab, he did go down to molt and he was down for 6 months. And then I would say 3, 4 months later, he did go back down again. So it all depends on the crab. The faster they grow, we're feeding them healthy, they're eating a lot, so they are growing. So they will go down to molt more often, especially with the babies, the captive bred babies. They do like to molt a lot. I would say they would go down every 2 months for me. It all depends on the crab and how fast they're growing. Oh, wow, Sue, it's 2 a.m. Thank you for watching. Get some rest, definitely. Okay. Yes, it's definitely normal for them to do set back-to-back molts. As long as we're focusing on offering, the calcium that we always suggest, they should have that available to them at all times, right along with their other staples, the green worm, green sands, and worm castings. I like to offer them fats as well, so I would give them beef tallow and then an oil mix. It just helps with their shedding their exoskeleton much easier. Yes, absolutely. It shows that they are healthy, which is great. Definitely want to offer fats. I offer several fats on a shelf off the substrate, so no sand gets in it. I just have the Dollar Tree shower shelves against the glass, and that's where I put them in a dish in Mary's oil dishes. They are always hanging out up there. I also add extra staples with bugs as well, so they love that there. Absolutely, you can grind up any calcium. I make my own just because I have so many crabs, and I go through it quite often. I have to make one of those Chinese food containers maybe every 2, 3 months because I do have jumbos that devour the calcium mix in a day. I like to add dried shrimp, oyster shells, crab and lobster, cuttlebone, a few other things as well. I just started adding starfish to it, and those those dollar things inside as well. I grind everything up very finely because my captive bred babies are still pretty small, and I want to make sure that they're getting the calcium they need. Yes. Well, sometimes you don't know if they are carrying eggs unless you're really observing them. I love to watch my crabs anytime I have, and I record. Sometimes you will see them grooming themselves and you can see the eggs. I don't breed, so I really don't know the full process, only for what I hear. Mary and Darcy and all of them. But they will spawn into the salt water if they're doing the right thing. And then you would just have to make the decision if you're going to follow through with it or even do what you need. If they drop them in the sand, obviously they're not good anymore. They would have to spawn inside the saltwater pool in order for them to be viable. They will eat them, of course. Yes, thank you, Moa. Yes, thank you, Christine. You could always reach out to a hermit house and see if they are willing to raise them. Yes, I mean they will eat them. It's a good food source, unfortunately, but they will eat them. And we do ship Zoe. So definitely reach out to Hermit House if you find yourself in the situation and see what they say, and they will guide you from there. They ship them, which is great. Well, I mean, hermit crabs are they live in colonies with hundreds and thousands of other crabs. They do love to cuddle. That we have learned in captivity. Um, I don't have not one crab that likes to be alone. Um, they do love to cuddle. But if you see guarding, that's definitely a sign. I know the exotics are hard to come by. I adopted three of my own from Mary, so I'm very excited to see what they do and to see them grow and thrive. Oh, Jeannie, well, congratulations. This is welcome to the addiction because that's how it starts. It starts with 102, and then you end up like me. Wish you were closer, Moa. Does anyone else have any other questions? Be about anything. If yes, during this time is usually where you would see a lot of mating behavior. Okay, so it dropping a shell can mean lots of things. I have to say that I the crabs that I have had that has dropped the shell, um, maybe two of five possibly has made it. Usually, especially if it depends on how long you've had the crab. Um, Usually, in the beginning is when you will see the nutrition and things like that. So it all depends on the crab, but two out of five did not make it, unfortunately, especially if you do not see them active, if they're limp and they're not eating or moving. If they're active, we like to, always suggest other things. Um, what is my favorite part of um, like care? I mean, I love teaching others how to properly set up their habitats. I absolutely love it. Uh, Getting them set up with their proper heat, the humidity. I've set up so many of my own, and I love helping others. That's actually my favorite part. Special instructions on taking care of captive bred babies. Is that what you mean, Kay? With captive bred babies, they do require lots of calcium, lots of fats. They do molt quite often, so they do need a lot of that. They need things to climb, to be high and dry, and a lot of climbing. If you have a topper, that is best thing to do to have. Um, We do have a care guide for the captive bred babies. If you have captive bred babies or looking to get a few captive bred babies, then I would suggest joining the baby group. When you do, Mary will instruct you on what to do next. Some babies captive bred, even bigger crabs, they are just toe dippers. And then you have some crabs that just love to get in the pools. I guess it all depends on the crab and what you add into them. I have some coral in my pools, and it just some fun things for them to look into. The captive bred babies love the boxwood. They love to climb on the boxwood. They love to sleep on there. They love the uh, the tubes to sleep in. They just love climbing. They love to be high and dry. It's very important to give them something to climb onto to get as high as possible. They love it warm at times, and they love it even dry. We know that our base tank with a substrate is moist, and especially depending on how big the babies are when they're very small, their exo is not fully hardened. So we want to make sure that we give them that option. There's no tank decor preference. I'm a little crazy with decorations, but I love to give them a lot of things to do, especially on a topper. I like to make my own things. So I would make foraging dishes to hang from the ceiling and things like that. Just basically having things for them to get high and dry, I think is very important. Lots of calcium, lots of protein, lots of fats. You're very welcome. They love heights, absolutely. Okay, I'm sorry, Christine. Well, it depends on your shell shops. If you have um, lots of shells, I do like to have lots of shells on the substrate and also on the shelves. They need to be able to get to them. So a lot of climbing. I use jute rope and stick them onto the glass so that they can get up and down without a problem. But I do find most of my captive bred babies up on those shelves more often than my actual big ones. I'm sorry about the guys behind me. I am a neat freak when it comes to my tank, and I really don't always like to have shells on my substrate, and they do get dirty quite often. So I do have to rinse them out or just shake out the sand a little bit, at least once or twice a week. Yes, the sand can irritate them. Like I mentioned, you definitely want to make sure that you dust them off. But you definitely want to make sure you have them at their level since they are small. If you want to put a little basket or something on the substrate and then put your shells there just to make it easier for them, especially when they're small. I'm not sure, Kay, what your question is. I'm sorry, Clover. I'm going to go back and see what you asked. Okay. If your crabs are not babies and they're big, you can put them on on a shell shop. But like I mentioned before, we want to make sure that they have full access to them and they know that they're there. Especially when introducing new crabs into the tank, you want to put everything on the substrate because you don't want them to feel that they're fighting for any resources or they can't find them. Sometimes it takes them a while to explore the tank and actually find them. Yeah, the shelves can get a little filthy. So definitely tank maintenance is important. I do my tank maintenance at least once a month. When I clean out and change out food, I'll just pick up any food that has been tossed onto the substrate. Or if I see any shells with sand, I would just clean them out and then just put them back. In the wild, if they find shells on the sand on the beaches, they will just get at them. They flip them over anyway as they're inspecting the shells. So I really don't think it should be a problem. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about when you're introducing a new crab into your crab habitat, into your existing colony. I always like to suggest to the members when you're introducing your new crabs to your crab habitat or to your existing colony, even if you have one other crab and you're adding one more crab. Of course, depending on where they're coming from. If they're coming from PPDS and you're done with PPDS, I would suggest doing it during a time where your crabs are up and about and you can be present. You want to make sure you have several fruit dishes on the substrate, so that they have plenty of resources, lots of shells on the substrate. I like to give them a little buffet of different foods. They're big on eggs, so I would just boil an egg or scramble it, put it in the microwave with some peppers, and I would add some protein to it, depending on what you like. They love shrimp, so I chop up some shrimp and put it in there, or sardines, and then just sit down and in front of the tank and see and observe their behavior. As long as you don't see any aggression, like I mentioned in the video, they should be fine. Pecking order is completely normal. You may see some flicking or some antenna wars, but it's completely normal. But definitely you want to be present and you want to prepare if anything does happen. So the difference between pecking order and aggression is just, you will see the with pecking order, they can toss each other around with their claw. They will not be grabbing onto each other, so that is not aggression. You will see antennas flicking at each other, even climbing over each other. It has happened. Oh, thank you, Stacy. Oh yeah, I love to read. I love to. I definitely love to read up on everything, especially with helping other members. I want to make sure that I'm giving the proper information. And we spoke before. It's all about experience and what I've been through and what I've seen with my crabs. We always want to make sure that they have what they need, and that they're happy. I didn't have isopods until this trip. The convention, my son talked me into getting isopods. So he just got what are they called, Joseph? They're called
one
is powdered
orange, and the other is powdered blue.
Yes. So we have those. We're not planning to put them into the crab habitat yet. He wants to explore them and learn a little bit more about them. Yes. And we'll take it from there and see what happens. As they grow, we might add them into the tank or we might not. It all depends. Let's see. I want to make sure I go through all the questions and comments. So depending on how big the crabs are, I started out with a 75 gallon. That was my original tank. I only had 2 wild caught crabs during that time before I learned about them, and then not too long after that, I adopted 2 captive bred babies from Mary, and then I adopted 2 more from Josh's frogs. It was during the winter time, so Mary does not ship out during certain weather. So I did order 2 more from Josh's frogs. I started out with just them, with 6, and then depending on how fast they grow, I did have to upgrade. And of course, you want to always look for the 10 gallons per crab, and that's just mainly for molting space. You want to make sure that they have plenty of deep substrate, starting with at least 6 inches. The substrate does tend to settle after a few months. I would say 6 months to a year. So you will have to add more substrate to that. Um, so yes, you will, depending on how big they get. We do have a chart on our website you can go to, and you can see, you can measure your crab, and it'll tell you how big of a tank you would need. I have two jumbos that I rescued. We call them the pasta twins. They're in a tank by themselves, a 55-gallon. Just I want to make sure that they have what they need, and the space they need, because they are pretty big. My biggest is actually in a 2.25 opening. Not sure what the female is, but they were male and female. So we'll see what happens when he comes up. Yeah, it's very normal, Randy, for there to be some pecking order after a molt, because the other crab was down for a while. So it's the same thing as introducing a new crab into your tank. You definitely want, once you see that they're up, you want to sit and observe what's going on. It's definitely normal. Like I said, load them up with lots of resources so they don't have to fight. But pecking order is definitely normal. Yes, Stacy, he got powdered orange. Those are the ones. I will definitely keep you guys posted and see how they work out. He does have a blue one as well. Not sure what that one is called. I'm not too educated on isopods, but it won't take long for me to read up on them. That's yes, that's very true. When that's I'm gonna end up doing that once, because I change out foods for my other tanks every 2 days. So whatever they do leave, I will put in for the isopods. Thank you for that. Hello, Christina. Yes, we do have a link, the adoption page, Randy. If you go to our adoption page, we have three separate links. One is for adoptions for crabs in general. We have one for giving up your crabs, and one for the captive bred baby. So definitely check that out. They will email you with several questions of setup and things like that, and you could take it from there. There's plenty of people that have bioactive tanks. They do have isopods, and they do require a little corner, preferred the back of the tank with some moist moss, a nice little hide so the crabs can't get in there. Something small needs to be nice and moist. Plenty of leaf litter, I tell my members. Lots of leaf litter on the substrate, because they do require lots of that. A lot of bark, hides. They need hides. Lots of protein. So they will eat what the crabs have as well, which is good. And Stacy did link the adoption link on the bottom. Yeah, I mean, Christine, if you have the 75-gallon, you can have, your 6 crabs in there. You can add a topper for enrichment. They spend most of their time up on the topper more than anything. But I do offer lots of other things on the base tank. So I have them all over the place. I like to have a forage dish with just like shipwreck things. Like Mary has a mix of all shipwreck exoskeletons. I have a dish with that, with worms. They have worm casting, green sand on the substrate. We have a tree fort that we made, and everything is on there. Cuttle bone. So I try to make lots of things to, to keep them active. They're always loving to hang out everywhere. Isopods do take over the tank. They do overpopulate, so you might have to make some adjustments when they start to multiply. It does take about 2 months or so for them to double in size, maybe even triple. Does anyone have any other questions before we hop off? I just want to thank everyone. Thank you, Stacy and Mary, for allowing me to do this presentation. I hope everyone enjoyed CrabCon so far. There's some great talks coming this afternoon as well. I hope you guys enjoy everything and have safe travels. Love you all. Bye.